Welcome to season 20 and our new partnership with the ECAC Hockey, the leaders in hockey on and off the ice. Learn more at ecachockey.com. Now we're speaking with Doug Christiansen, Commissioner of ECAC Hockey, to talk about not only the new partnership with Hockey Prospect Radio on Sirius XM NHL Network Radio, but we're going to talk about ECAC Hockey in general. So, Doug, thank you very much for coming on the show. Always appreciate it.
Thanks, Shane. Really excited to be here. Looking forward to working with you and amplifying all the great things that happen in our league now and have happened in the league for years.
Want to talk to you first and foremost, right off the top, to sort of explain to not only myself, to our listeners, the vision and mission of ECAC hockey, because each league or conference, whether it be college hockey in the United States or Canada, or junior teams across North America, or club teams in Europe, everybody has a bit of a distinct vision and mission. And I think ECAC hockey is no different in that respect.
Well, sometimes it's a bit cliche to talk about your hashtag, but I think it ties it together. It's the educated decision. It gives student athletes the opportunity to everything that they want to do in life. They have the opportunity to play in the NHL or PWHL. It can prepare them for a professional career in hockey. It prepares them for a professional career in whatever it is that they want to do. And we look at it through the lens of the student athletes who are coming through our league. They have 4 years and it prepares them for the next 40 years of their life. And I look back at my time in the ECAC and I look at my friends and the people that I played against and the coaches in the league and see where they've gone in their life. And it really is just proof to me that what our league is doing has worked in the past. It will work now, and it will continue to work because those values and the points that are so important for our student athletes are time tested. And it's really fun to put student athletes in an opportunity to have a great experience in college, and then hopefully they go on and do fantastic things.
One of the things perhaps, particularly my listeners in Europe and Canada, or in some parts of the United States, may not realize is how competitive ECAC hockey is on the ice versus the other conferences, men's and women. Like I attend many games of ECAC. I'm not far away from many of the universities and colleges, and I've seen it throughout the past. So, from my perspective, I go there on purpose to go scout a particular style of player that the ECAC is particularly known for. So talk about that competitiveness versus the other conferences, because sometimes you don't think of ECAC hockey of producing like really highly credible NHL players or professional hockey players in general. And they have a wealth of great women hockey players coming out of the ECAC.
Sure. So obviously two little bit different discussions, but both sides are hyper competitive. I mean, the one thing that I would say, and I remember this from playing in the league and coming back into the league. Last year was my first year back in the league after graduating too many years ago. But it was one of those things for me where it was fun to see how one goal, one bounce, one power play was going to be the difference, not only in a weekend, but in a season. And how congested our standings are, and the fact that you go to a place, it's tough, there's a grind, there's that element and grit, and then you go the next night and you get tested again after a rigorous academic week. That's something that's unique and special that I think our student athletes then rise to the occasion, not only in the short term, but then in the long term. But we look at the men's side last year, we had two teams in the final eight. The year before, we had the national champion, and we had 4 teams in the NCAA tournament. And last year on the women's side, we had 7 teams in the top 15. We had 4 in the NCAA tournament. We had a 5th team who was the first team out. We had the Patty Kazmaier Award winner for National Player of the Year. And then we also had 4 of the top first six picks in the PWHL draft, including #1 overall. And so I go back to that first thing that I said before. Whatever it is that you want to do, it's right in front of you. And I think that that's something that not only are we preparing the players to play at the next level, but we're also preparing them to be able to have success at whatever they do whenever their career is over. Because, Adam Fox, who played at Harvard, I don't think he's going to stop playing hockey anytime soon. But when he does have a Harvard degree to fall back on, which will springboard him to whatever he wants to do in the next phase of his life.
Some of the interesting things that perhaps we don't think about is what ECAC hockey does in that format of rigorous academic during the week and then rigorous games on the weekend where you have to almost have a memory like a goldfish. You have to forget that night and move on to the next night. And what it develops in ECAC players is emotional and mental grit. And if you want to be successful in life, regardless of your vocation, that is an absolute necessity of having that resilience of being able to pick yourself off the mat, or to be able to get back to your neutral equilibrium, not being too high, too low, and look at things with emotional clarity and mental clarity. And I think the educational component, along with the athletic component, I think it does a really great job of building that within your student athletes.
So I was having a conversation last year with one of the athletic directors in our school, in our league. And he said to me, he was like, our league is grit. And I know I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but it was one of those things where you don't normally think of the schools that are in our league as the gritty schools. But there is an element of grit. And I remember it being a student athlete myself. You wake up in the morning, you go lift, you go to class. These aren't cupcake classes. These are real classes that are preparing you for the next phase of life. Then you go to practice. Then you eat your dinner, you do whatever it is, depending on what time of day. And then you go start to study. Then you do it all over again. And then on the weekend, you got to go compete against another team and be at your best on Friday and Saturday night. And on Friday night, you see one team. And on Saturday night, you see another team. And you have to be able to adapt and adjust. And to your point, you can't get too high if you win on Friday night. You can't get too low if you lose on Friday night. If you play well on Friday night, great. But on Saturday, it's a whole new ball game. And I think that that's the part that it happens over and over. And it's that repetition that becomes learned and ingrained in the people in our league. And it allows them to foster and have success at whatever it is that they do next. Because, if you think about a playoff series in pro hockey, whatever it's men's, women's, you're up 1-0 in a series, you're up 2-0 in a series, you're down. I mean, you think about the mental resilience and the how hard it was for the Florida Panthers to be up 3-0 and then 3-3 and then be able to find a way to win a game 7, or conversely to be down 3-0 and find a way to battle your way back. And it's those skills are necessary in hockey, they're necessary in life, because as everybody knows, things aren't going to always go the way that you want it to go. And you have to be able to find a way to recalibrate and refocus and be effective at whatever you're going to do next.
I agree with that 100%. And we'll use the NHL as an example, look at the number of third and fourth liners, number 4, number 5, number 6 defensemen in the NHL that came from the ECAC. And they are role players who play a style of game that is physically relentless. And you have to be physically tough, but the body follows the mind. And if your mind isn't there, it's just not going to happen for you. And I think that's really a critical lesson. As an academic myself, who is halfway through a PhD program, like the attribute I had to recognize and always lean on is grit. Is just get it done. Get it done. Get your stuff done early that day. Get it done. Be self-disciplined and go back and revisit the next day. And you have to do it every day. It's not that type of level academics. You can't put yourself in a situation where you do a little bit of work one day and you kind of like let it go for a couple of days. It doesn't work that way. And the academics in the ECAC are no different, even at an undergrad level, and then having to play and take the physical punishment on the weekends.
For sure. And I think that the other part is that gets lost in the whole thing is it's a tremendously rewarding and it's a ton of fun. And anything that you've done in life, whatever vocation it is, whether it's something that you go through with your family, it's those things that you've done that you've really had to work for that gives you additional self-confidence, that gives you additional belief. And that allows you to, when other situations come up in the future, to be really successful. And I think that that's the part for me that coming back to the league and seeing the energy and seeing the passion and seeing the smiles on everybody's faces, that not only are they going out and competing and having themselves tested, but they're also having a great time. And I think that that's something for us that I look back at my experience at Union College, and I loved my 4 years there. My family, my wife and her family, they're all student athletes, and we will look back at their college experience and they loved it. And it was being challenged and being pushed that helped you feel when you got to the end of it that you've earned something. And I think that that gives you a level of confidence and pride that whatever you do next, you're going to have that success. And to your point about, you go into a training camp, and I was a player myself, and you look around the room and everybody's vying for only a few spots. And the people who understand what it is that they do well, what their preparation needs to be, and are able to, when the puck drops, not only do it for one night, but to be able to do it over an extended period, they have success and they're self-starters. And I think that that's why you look through the NHL and you look through the PWHL and you see so many different players who are able to come in, be drafted, have success, or be undrafted and have success. Last year, there's only one league in college hockey over the last 5 years that had more undrafted free agent games in the NHL. And that's a testament to the coaches in our league that they're developing them and they're going on and having success at the next level.
Well, we're going to take a short break on Hockey Prospect Radio. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages. We are back with the ECAC Hockey Partnership with Doug Christiansen, the commissioner of the ECAC Hockey as well, and they are the leaders in hockey on and off the ice. Learn more at ecachockey.com. In our continuing discussion, Doug, I'd like to get your thoughts on the leadership component of ECAC hockey. And if you look through different leagues, and if you look through as the women and men progress off into professional hockey, or they emerge and go into business or other of their specific vocations, one of the things that I found really fascinating is how they all tend to go into some form of a leadership position. It's whether they gravitate to that on purpose or it organically happens based on them as people and the environment they grew up in the ECAC, and a part of that, training they had through their academics of being a leader. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I found it actually not surprising, but even more impressive once I dug in and did a little bit more research.
I think one of the things that's really interesting, and we can go through who our alumni are, and we'll come back to that in a minute, but I've had the real fortune to talk to a lot of our teams and had the opportunity to address them. And this is not just our league. Our league, I think, does a really nice job, but this is college athletes in general. In many ways, they are the 1%. And it's not about money. That's not what it's about. What it's about is having the determination and having the ability to set a goal and to be able to work towards that goal and to become highly skilled and highly competent at it in comparison with the marketplace, and in comparison with your peers. And then to get into a group where you're surrounded by those hyper competitive, hyper talented people, and to be able to grow and to develop and to be challenged, and to then be able to hopefully eventually be near the top of the pyramid. And you look at a player who comes in their first year to all the way to their final year of college, how much they've grown physically and emotionally and mentally, and how much their skills have developed. And so they have this platform, they have this baseline foundation of who they are as a person. And I think that the rigors of our league and how demanding it is, that combination really sets it so that when they leave, they go on and be really successful at whatever it is that they might get themselves into. So you'll look at just the hockey side of it. Pat Kelleher, head of USA Hockey, Brown alum. Of course, you have two vice presidents at the NHL, George Peros and Kevin Westgarth, both Stanley Cup champions. You have two of the six PWHL general managers. You have Jessica Campbell, who's going to be the first woman ever to coach in the National Hockey League this year, who's a Cornell alum. You look at all of these different people going to different places and having tremendous amount of success. For us as a league, we look at what the students are doing now and what the players are doing now, and we want them to continue that growth so that wherever they go, they're going to be able to be successful. and they have those inherent skills that allow them to then go on and not only be effective at what they're doing, but be a leader at what they're doing, because they're the type of person that pushes other people to be better and understands what a high standard looks like. And that's an exceptional thing for our league.
Yeah, the other example I would use as well is Angela Ruggiero, who, you look through what she has done after her hockey career with her, sports lab and now being an advisor for the New York Rangers. Like it's almost there's almost nothing she can't end up accomplishing because and she accredits a lot of that because of her training on and off the ice and her academics at an ECAC institution. And she's another example of, and can go into a bunch of different types of vocations and finds her way to the top of the pyramid and is a leader in that respect and takes the leadership mantle on purpose because she believes that that's her responsibility. And that's something that I think, a lot of athletes out of the ECAC, when I see them after or during their playing career, really, that comes through a lot in how they speak and how they present themselves.
I think that there's no question, and a lot of it is just that time where they're together with their peers and they go on. I mean, I've had the opportunity to get to know Angela. She's obviously a tremendously accomplished woman and has been able to be successful at whatever she has done. And General Milley oversaw the entire American military as the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and he's a Princeton hockey player. And you look at Daniel Marmer; she's a Quinnipiac alum, and she's now the general manager in Boston. So in the PWHL. So you look at the different people who are going on and having success at the levels that they've gotten themselves to. I think that it's one of the things where it's their education, it's B, it's their experience to get themselves into our schools and to get themselves through it. And then when they go on, they have the toolkit to be able to say, okay, I need this ability. They already have it. They've developed it. They've honed it. And they go on and they're able to be successful. And they're able to climb their way to the top. And for us as a league, it's fantastic to be able to amplify that and to talk about that and to be able to showcase that, because it is something that is special. It is something that's unique. And, the most recent Stanley Cup champion, Bill Zito, is a former Yale hockey player. And he and I happened to go to the same high school in Milwaukee. And so me watching his path, it's been really exciting to see him go on as somebody that I looked up to as a kid to go on and be tremendously successful in the NHL. And you see that, and the people are willing to pay their dues, do their work, and get themselves to where they want to get to.
One of the interesting things before we have to head off, I always find interesting as well is I think sometimes the environment that you're amongst your not only your peer group but your professors and the university itself, that environment is powerful because it's pure learning, but also it's the exposure to the network that you potentially have. So you have people that go on to all these great things and you can pick up the telephone and have a conversation about, this is what I'm trying to accomplish. What do you think? Or they can direct you to someone in that, and having that alumni in that peer group is tremendously beneficial.
There's no question that the alumni networks in our league are fantastic. And I think that there is a real bond among the ECAC hockey alums. And you look at how many players from elite Clarkson teams have gone on to leadership positions in the NHL. You obviously have Craig Conroy as a general manager in the NHL. You have Yarmo, who was in Columbus. You have people who've come through and become extremely successful. And what's really great about that is the current players and recent alums are able to pick up the phone and they're able to call those people, and they want to help. They want to be able to say, you know what? I've got 30 minutes. I've got an hour. I want to help you because I wanted somebody to help me, and they did. And they give back. And I think that that's something that is special. It's special not just in our league. It's obviously great that it happens in our league, but people are really attached to their alma mater. And I think that that's something that for players, as they're making decisions between college hockey and other options, that it's the opportunity to be something that's much bigger than you. And you don't fully understand that till you get yourself into it. But I know that the student athletes in our league really feel that and they benefit from that throughout their entire career.
Well, I want to thank you very much for coming on the show, Doug. Really appreciate it and look forward to speaking to you in the future.
Thanks so much. This is great. Really excited to work with you this whole year and excited about our partnership.
We're going to take a break on Hockey Prospect Radio. Stay tuned. We'll be back right after these messages.